So I was yapping to Gasklin in DMs. He asked me how the season was doing. Like a good friend, he reached out, unlike I ever do. Anyway, he reached out and said, how do you feel about the new Marvel Rivals season? My first instinct was, Jeff is terrible. I hate Jeff. So Gasklin rebutted that with I'm not sure if he's good or bad yet, which is fair. He's a better player, so his judgment will ultimately be much healthier for the game, to be completely honest with you. But as a Jeff enjoyer, here's my take. And we're going to break this down in several segments. Let's go ahead and get out the notepad. Actually, you know what? We're going to bring out the paint. Last season's Jeff was obviously a problem. There was a lot of things that needed to be adjusted about him and fixed. I don't deny this. However, my main issue with this is the fact that Jeff, since his launch, has been terrible. With the changes that have been brought on to Jeff, they made him an unkillable backlining shark. I loved playing that style. Obviously not healthy for the game. So let's go ahead and put this down, right? Season 0 to season 1.5, Jeff was horrible. This is the timeline here, okay? We're not going to talk about my handwriting. I don't care. Jeff was horrible. This is the truth. He was terrible. Season 2.0 to season 2.5. Jeff was broken. But now, here's this weird middle line, right? Start of season 2.0, okay? Now, here's where the problems start to arise, right? The start of season 2.0, Jeff was bad in the perception of everybody. At the start of season 2.0, Jeff was not good. Some people had him at B in their tier lists. That's okay. But nobody could have ever predicted the heights in which the little fish dog could reach. Okay? So towards the halfway point of season 2.0, people started understanding just how strong backline Jeff really was. That is the truth. He was not considered broken at the beginning of the season. People were like, honestly, a good Jeff could be good. A good Jeff could be good. But towards the end of the season, they're like, all right, let's take him in the back. Let's shoot him in the head. Let's get this dog out of here. Let's go euthanize this animal. They wanted to beat him to death with hammers and rocks towards the end of season 2. Now, my whole thing here is Jeff has never had true balance. There was never a point in where Jeff was an okay pick, but not a meta pick. There just wasn't that point. Maybe for about a week in season 2, maybe for about a week there, but ultimately he was always viewed as dog shit. Now, we're going to go with start of 2.5. Okay? Jeff reworked. Jeff is reworked. So now we're going to sit here and look at the characteristics that made a very unkillable season 2 backline Jeff and the characteristics of the reworked Jeff from the few games that I've played now. My sample size isn't large. I've said that, and I mean that in more than just one way. But this is going to be a good starting point to establish what we got with our beloved fish dog. Okay? Okay. Jeffrey the Shark. We'll go last season and then current season, right? Last season, unhealthy self-sustain. It's true. He had an unhealthy amount of self-sustain. He could stay in the water forever. He had 6 bubbles that gave you, I believe, 80 HP and 60% movement speed, and gave a buff to the amount of healing that you received. So when you pop it and you go back into the water, you actually healed even more. His right clicks, 4-shot combo. He had a 4-shot combo. Now, the 4-shot combo was quite literally just right-clicking 4 times on a 250 HP hero. Cloak and Dagger, Luna, Hawkeye, Hela. Maybe not Hawkeye, but I remember 4-shotting Hawkeye. Regardless, he had a 4-shot combo. I understand the 4 looks like an H. Now, the 4-shot combo was deadly for a multitude of reasons, right? Because Jeff was so fast in his shark form with the bubble and had an unlimited amount of self-sustain, he could literally go to the back line, keep himself up until he was out of bubbles. The bubbles had a pool of 6 with a cooldown of 6 seconds per bubble. So you pop one, you swim around, you get your HP back. Maybe you're not out for 6 seconds, but you're out for a fair amount of time to the point to when you come back into the fight, you're going to be very close to having another bubble. Now, the thing about Jeff was that he had a massive head hitbox. So heroes like Hela, honestly, Rocket, if you knew how to walk into the Jeff, but a good Jeff would never let a Rocket do it, right? Punisher, Now, the one thing I will say is that Black Panther was able to one-shot Jeff through swimming and through bubble. He did a bunch of burst damage. But you didn't really have that problem with any other flanking DPS. You didn't have that problem with Spider-Man. You didn't have it with Magic, Captain America, Venom. None of these characters were really a problem for you, and you were one of the few supports that could do that. Now, it doesn't mean that he doesn't get pressured. If your movement wasn't good enough on Jeff and a Captain America ran you down, he could kill you. But he wouldn't one-shot you like Black Panther could. So that's why there's some law and order to that. Now let's look at some of the negative sides of Jeff. But keep in mind that these negative sides weren't necessarily negatives because your role as a Jeff was to do these two things: live forever and kill things. Just go into the backline and harass permanently. And then you got the Luna team up. It was just so much damage, right? But the downsides were no defensive ult, which means that you typically needed to run 3 supports if you wanted to run a Jeff. That was typically the only reliable situation. Jeff essentially took the role of a DPS, and then you would run for a Jeff. The optimal team comp last season for a Jeff was Emma, Mag, Jeff, Luna, Loki, and I don't know. You could just plug whatever DPS you want in there, right? Alternatively, you could replace one of the tanks with Captain America, and then a Jeff and a Captain America were just so unstoppable because Captain America wouldn't die, and Jeff constantly provided him with a movement burst or a movement speed buff, right? But here's the thing. In the current season, right? In the current season, we no longer have incredible self-sustain. We just don't have it, right? We don't have that incredible self-sustain. We have a little bit. We have bubbles for ourselves. We have swim for ourselves. But the swim is now on a timer, and you only have 3 bubbles, and the bubbles were nerfed to healing over time instead of a burst heal, right? So that's just a net negative, okay? Simply just a net negative. No longer have 4-shot combo. He doesn't have the 4-shot combo. He has 3 right clicks at first, which is his awkward burst. He has them at most of 3. Of course, they're on a 6-second cooldown, very similar to Bubble, but you no longer have that. You still have no defensive ult. Still don't have it. Oh, fuck. Ult. Still no defensive ult. That is, nothing has changed there. I think they did a thing in which if you eat your teammates, they heal faster, but that was really only good in really niche situations. Jeff ult can be used defensively. Okay? Let me make that very clear. It can be used defensively. I actually did it literally in a game today. In the 4 games that I've played, I did it in a game today. Strange ulted before the ult went off. I ulted. His ult went off, stunned my teammates. I ate my teammates, including Strange in a thing, threw off Strange, thing didn't die. But either way, I used it defensively and I turned the tide of that fight because their Strange went in for an ult and I saved my ult for it. It can be used defensively, right? It can be. But the problem with it is that Jeff is left vulnerable. And if the enemy team is good enough, it really won't do much. It takes your teammates out of the fight entirely. So sometimes it could be even worse than a stun. It really just, it's very, very dependent on the situation, right? And the teams you're going with and the elo you're playing. But at the core of it, Jeff does not have a defensive ult. It just doesn't. It's just not a defensive ult. Now, let's talk about some of the positives with this season's Jeff, okay? Let's talk about some of the positives. Wait, right before I do that, let me talk about one more negative. Nerfed mouse 1 healing. They nerfed his mouse 1 healing with less bubbles. So now he can't even do as much healing as before, okay? He simply can't do as much healing as he could before. Also, the only positive to this whole season for Jeff, I think, the only positive is, mouse 1 now damages. That's it. I think that's truly the only net positive for Jeff this season is that his M1 now damages, which means you can get some pretty consistently good damage off, but it's all just poke damage. It's very unreliable kill damage. Very unreliable kill damage. Now, I'm only in Diamond right now on my account that I played today. I'm only in Diamond. I haven't had time to climb it to like mid GM to maybe Celestial. But the point, I think, still stands. Now, again, last season I was mid to high GM. I peaked GM1 or something. I don't know. I was never a truly Celestial player. So I am in what some people would consider low Bob. However, I feel like my critique is valid here. I just don't see anything positive about this rework. There's different situations in which you can get into with Jeff, but I see no true positives from this rework. One thing that I completely overlooked is less headshot damage, okay? He does take less headshot damage, 70% instead of the 50 from last season. Or is it 80% now instead of the... No, I think it's 70 now. Either way, it's 20 to 30% less headshot damage, which makes sense considering Jeff's whole body is his fucking head, essentially. If you're going to shoot at Jeff, you're probably going to get a headshot, right? It's more likely than not you're going to get a headshot, especially like Hella players or Bucky players or any of the hit scan players. You're probably going to get a headshot. So that is a good thing. There's two net buffs, but I think there's more nerfs than buffs, man. I really truly believe there's more nerfs than buffs. Now again, this is literally day one. I am recording this on May 31st at 2 a.m. CST. Quite literally came out today. I think Jeff can still be fun, but I think he is a far worse character now. I just don't see why you would pick Jeff over any of the other heroes. The 4 characters I can tell you right now that you'd want to have over Jeff is, of course, Luna, because she's a raid boss, Loki, Rocket, Cloak, and Dagger. Is there anybody else? Oh, and Inviswoman. That's 5 supports I can name off the top of my head in which you'd want to have over a Jeff, I think. I think the Rocket is on the edge considering he got nerfed, but I feel like Rocket provides more healing than Jeff, and I feel like Jeff's damage is so inconsequential that it doesn't matter. It's similar to Moira damage from Overwatch. She throws the damage orb, she gets her ult, but Moira's ult was better in Overwatch than Jeff's is in Rivals. Like, Jeff's ult can be big. Jeff's ult can turn the fight. Jeff's ult can win a fight, but it takes a lot of planning. The thing about Jeff's ult is you can get one, right? Say they have a Luna. If you ult and you target the Luna, you have to make sure of a few things first, right? One, if they have a Human Torch can essentially one-shot you out of your ult as soon as it happens. They can't have Magneto ult. The enemy team has to not look at you in order for it to happen. And there has to be a map that allows for the Jeff play to happen, right? You can't be doing these things on maps like the symbiote map, the Venom map. Like there's no pits. There's no pits. There's a certain group of people that just get so angry at that phrase, no pits. And unfortunately, Jeff mains are now a part of that group. There's nowhere I can take the enemies. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. That map is just dog shit for Jeff. Now, playing Jeff with his mouse one feels satisfying. I will say that. It definitely feels satisfying to a certain degree because you're just shooting down range through everyone. Because Jeff's left click does have infinite range. It had infinite range last season too. But it's just through everyone. So it's just like you're just getting crazy fucking hit markers. That's pretty satisfying. I just don't see how Jeff is any better than he was last season. I don't see any reason why he would be better than any of the heroes that I proposed. I think Jeff is once again in the gutter. I picked up Jeff last season because I thought he got buffed and I was like, okay, maybe he's playable now. And I was right. Everybody called me stupid. In fact, I had multiple times where people banned Jeff when I select him on my team because they said that Jeff was the worst character in the game. They were fucking brutally wrong, by the way. It's just a disappointing time for Jeff's. We had half of a half season. I just want to say that again. Half of a half season to be recognized with respect, and now it's gone. I'm going to stay true to Jeff. However, I think I'm probably not going to play as much Marvel Rivals. I truly enjoyed the Jeff gameplay. Again, I can understand why he was nerfed. I completely get it. It wasn't healthy. However, I think there was things they could have done a bit better. Limiting his right clicks and limiting his swim just doesn't really make much sense to me. I understand they limited his right clicks because they gave him a bunch of damage on his left click, but it just all feels so inconsequential. Like I said, it's like, or y'all ever seen that one scene in that anime? I think it's My Hero Academia, where they're just punching. Dude, I don't even think that's it. There was a video I saw in which this person was just punching the shit out of this other guy, and this other guy was just eating it, just just nothing, like no damage to him. That's how it feels with Jeff. He's a bit better at killing flyers, but I don't know. I could be completely overreacting. I just don't think I am. I think with all the evidence that you obviously can't read because my handwriting is atrocious, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I think it's cooked. I think it's all just so fucking cooked. I don't think there's any real redeeming for Jeff this season. And if I'm wrong, then I'll happily be proven wrong. I will happily be proven wrong. I have no malice in that. I have no malice. All I ask is maybe give him back his infinite swimming. Now the fact, I also forgot to include this. Less self-healing while swimming. He has less self-healing while swimming, by the way. I just want to make that, I want you to read that real quick. He has less self-healing while swimming as well. I just don't think it's a good idea. He can't survive anything. If he gets dove, he's dead, it feels like. Yeah, I don't know, man. I will happily be proven wrong, but I don't think I am. One must imagine Sisyphus. One must imagine a fish dog. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got.